Hey, welcome to the show. In today's episode, we're going to look at a new hope for Jurassic Park. Then we have a new state of matter. We're going to follow that up with a new lease on life for some old satellites. And we will wrap everything up with a guy who is just a hero when it comes to battling copyright on music. I'm Zach. This here is ZakDTV. And let's start right off with Dinosaur DNA has been found in 75 million year old fossils. These researchers from the Chinese Academy of Sciences and North Carolina State University have found evidence of cartilage cells, proteins, chromosomes, and even DNA preserved inside the fossils of Hypacrosaurus, which is a duck billed dinosaur. Now, these fossils were considered nestlings or newborns that didn't yet get out and move around. So they were actually even pretty delicate, if you will, compared to some of the older dinosaurs that would be out there. I'd imagine they'd be a little more tender, a little more likely to rot away. But they were found in a nest, and they even found that one of the cells looked like it's in the middle of cell division, which is kind of amazing to think that that process stopped halfway through. That's weird, right? In order to verify that their findings were actually 75 million year old soft material of a duck-billed dinosaur, they first hit it with a reactant that would react to collagen, and they got a positive result. Their next step then was to isolate individual cartilage cells from this sample and hit it with a staining technique that would identify DNA. They got a positive result from that as well. So here they have actual DNA strands from 75 million year old creature. That is amazing. Now, some of you might be saying, I remember a story about a woman who found a Tyrannosaurus Rex's DNA and how that just got torn up and nobody could prove it. There's all these different biofilm theories and lab contamination theories. Well, the thing is, they did test this DNA, these practices, against emu DNA and practices similar to test the results. But they did them in two separate labs. They tested for collagen, which isn't made by a biofilm, and they just covered their asses with this. They made sure all their steps were right. And it looks like, in the long run, this is 75 million year old DNA. This is 75 million year old soft tissue. And how amazing this is wasn't lost on Alita Bayou, that stated they suggest DNA can preserve for tens of millions of years. And we hope that this study will encourage scientists working on ancient DNA to push current limits and to use new methodology in order to reveal all the unknown molecular secrets that ancient tissues have. That's right, if you're taking the time to look at ancient creatures, if you are looking at ancient fossils, take a little time to look a little deeper. And maybe, just maybe, you can find the DNA we need for a new Jurassic Park. Wouldn't that be great? Anyway, I know. Very unlikely. Alright, now that we've taken a quick look 75 million years into the past, let's look at our future. And in a press release from Northeastern University, they detail how physicists have discovered a new way to manipulate electric charge. According to Associate Professor of Physics, Swastik Kar, it could change the way we can detect and communicate signals. It could change the way we can sense things and the storage of information, and possibilities that we may not have even thought of yet. This discovery happened when Carr and his fellow researchers were analyzing different types of 2D materials and stacking them on top of each other to see what the effects would be, to see how they interact with each other. The specific materials they were looking at were bismuth selenide and a transition metal dichalcogenide. Don't know if I'm saying that right, but read it for yourself. So in their research, they were layering these 2D materials on top of each other and rotating the angles to see where things happen. If you've been following me for a while, you might remember a magic angle for graphene where it becomes a superconductor. Well, this is similar to that. They found a specific angle where, according to the paper, things got weird. What they found was in between these two layers, there was a third layer of electrons, which, all being negatively charged, should repel each other. They found these electrons were becoming what they call puddles. They were pulling up puddles of electrons in the space between the two layers of 2D material. How neat is that? They do state that it's not the first time it's ever been seen before. They have seen this at extremely cold temperatures when looking for superconductors. The caveat here is that this was happening at room temperature. I'm not like, oh, it was a high temperature superconductor that just means it's above freezing or above absolute zero. No, this is happening at room temperature. That's another amazing discovery, right? I feel like I'm overusing that term. But here we are looking at something that is showing the effects of a superconductor at room temperature. It's doing better than graphene. Now, like Carr says, he thought this was a mistake. His example is, have you ever walked into a meadow and seen an apple tree with mangoes hanging from it? This is about the same. It doesn't make sense. How is this happening? Well, they hit it with the electron scanning microscope. They hit it with the electron scanning microscope again, and it kept coming back with the same answers. They thought there was a problem here, but it seems to be legit. It seems to be the way it is. And yes, this is just the beginning of understanding this phenomenon. But if this is as important as it seems to be, this could be the future of our electronics, of everything in our future world. I don't know. We'll keep an eye on it, see where it goes, and I'll get back to you about it. Alright, we are going to move directly out of high concept quantum physics and into tugboats. Well, tugboats in space. In a report put out by Northrop Grumman and Intelsat, they've announced they successfully linked up at 22,500 miles above the Earth. That's 36,000 kilometers above the Earth. And they joined two commercial satellites together in order to keep the Intelsat functional, to keep it working for many years to come. At least another 5 years to the life expectancy of this satellite. According to Tom Wilson of Northrop Grumman, the impossible is now a reality. Today is a great example of that. You might wonder what makes this so epic. What they did was basically attach a guidance satellite, a tugboat, if you will, to an aging satellite that was put up over 20 years ago. That was basically dead in the water and floating around as space debris. Well, this new Northrop Grumman satellite attached to it and allowed it to be repositioned, put it back in orbit, and back in service. They added a booster to a rocket that was never meant to be serviced, thereby expanding the lifetime of it. And they do say that 5 years from now, they expect to decouple from it and go on to service the next satellite. But at that point, if the satellite is no longer viable, they can give it a push back into the atmosphere, taking care of some of that space debris that threatens to lock us on this planet. To me, it sounds like a very simple solution, a simple yet elegant solution to a big problem. And hopefully they're going to keep going at it. We'll see where it goes. And finally, I just want to give props to Damian Ryle, who should be considered a hero to anyone who's into creating music. He is a lawyer by trade, but he is also a musician and a programmer just for the fun of it. What he did was write an algorithm that came up with every possible melody out there. Every melody that could ever be written. And they're now copyrighted, because copyright law states as soon as you record a melody, it becomes your copyright. Well, I can see where he could become a tyrant and be like, oh, I own every type of music out there. Or he could do what he's doing and go, copyright's done. He recently did a TED Talk where he explains that because there's such a melodic minefield out there, that he felt he had to do something like this because copyright law is just ridiculous. I didn't know this, but you could actually be sued for copyright infringement for subconscious infringement, whereby you don't even know you heard the song, but somehow they could sue you by saying that you knew the song and you used it for your melody. Well, Damien made his program to battle this. Thank you, Damien. You're a good guy. But on that note, get it, music note, I'm going to wrap it up. Thanks for stopping by. If you liked this episode, make sure to click the like button. If you didn't, make sure to say you didn't. Share this with your friends. Definitely leave me comments, questions, everything down below. That's what helps my channel grow. And I guess just until next time, have fun and be safe.